Economists have a word they hate to use, and that word is stagflation. It's an economic nightmare where growth slows, unemployment rises, but prices keep climbing. And the scary part, the usual tools just don't work. In 2025, people are starting to ask, are we heading towards stagflation again? Normally, it's simple. If inflation is too high, central banks raise interest rates. If growth is too slow, they cut rates to boost demand. But stagflation is different. It's when inflation and unemployment rise together while growth stalls. Fixing one problem only makes the other worse. That's why it terrified economists back in the 70s and why it's back in today's headlines. Now, we're not in the 70s, but the mix feels uncomfortably familiar. In the US, core inflation is still sticky at around 3% year over year. In the Eurozone, headline inflation is steady at 2%, but everyday costs, housing, healthcare, transport aren't easing. Meanwhile, growth is weak. Germany and the UK are barely above recession. The US is cooling under high rates, and China is weighed down by a housing crisis and shrinking workforce. The world economy is growing at just 3%, better than feared, but far from a strong recovery. What's driving it? In the 70s, it was oil shocks. Today, it's more complicated. Energy volatility from war and geopolitics. Climate shocks like droughts and floods pushing up food prices. Supply chain shifts, with countries moving production to political allies, which is safer but more expensive. These pressures all feed inflation even as demand weakens. Now, why it's hard to fix? Here's the real problem. There is no easy solution. Raise rates, you fight inflation but crush already weak demand. Cut rates, you help growth but make inflation worse. Governments can try targeted spending, productivity reforms, or tax changes. But the truth is, stagflation requires a careful, painful balancing act, and households are already feeling it. Groceries, rent, and energy cost more, but paychecks aren't keeping up. Many are dipping into savings or relying on credit just to get by. For businesses, materials and wages are higher, but customers aren't spending as much, so profits get squeezed. Governments, meanwhile, are stuck. Revenues slow down, but pressure supports struggling households goes up. Some argue this isn't full stagflation yet, and they're right. Unemployment is still relatively low, and inflation expectations are stable, but the situation is fragile. Another energy shock, a major supply disruption, or a policy mistake could push things into dangerous territory. And once stagflation takes hold, recovery is slow and painful. The good news, policymakers are better prepared than in the 70s. Central banks move faster, communicate more clearly, and energy markets are more diversified. The bad news? Debt. Public debt is far higher today, which limits how much governments can spend if growth collapses. Add political instability, and bold action gets harder. So what does this mean for ordinary people like you and me? Households may need to tighten budgets, lock in fixed rates, and build savings. Investors may look to real assets, commodities, or inflation-linked bonds instead of vulnerable equities. Stagflation isn't just a word in economics textbooks. It changes how people live, spend, and plan for the future. We may not be in the 70s, but the risk is real, and the choices ahead won't be easy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more breakdowns of global economics and markets.